Hello, back again on the Top Recap channel. This time I will tell a movies entitled The Menu. Let's get straight into the storyline. The story begins by showing a couple, Margot and Tyler, who will sail to an island, where the island has an exclusive restaurant called Hawthorne. But they are not just the two of them going to the restaurant. 9 other people will come to enjoy the special treats of the restaurant. Among them is a famous food critic named Lillian Bloom and her editor named Ted. Then there is a famous artist named George and his assistant named Felicity, and 3 successful businessmen named Dave, Soren, and Bryce. Tyler is a food critic, so experiencing fine dining at Hawthorne Restaurant is one of his biggest dreams. In addition to the high cost, registering as a restaurant visitor took work. It had to go through some rigorous selection. Visitors must use a boat that has been prepared by the restaurant staff. Arriving on the island, the visitors were greeted by a waitress named Elsa. Elsa then listed the guests who had made reservations at Hawthorne Restaurant one by one. But it turned out that Margot's name was not included in the guest list because Tyler had broken up with the woman he would invite to the Hawthorne Restaurant. So he invited Margot to replace his ex-girlfriend. After that, the guests were invited to tour the island to see its beauty of the island. Elsa explained that on the island, they breed quality ingredients that will be processed by Hawthorne chefs.
And I'm close personal friends with the chef.
Okay. We slaughter, we marinate. So I think that maybe we'll just time the post.
Long story short, the fine dining event at Hawthorne Restaurant began. All guests were invited to sit in the prepared seats while watching the chefs cook various dishes.
Do you make that with a pot code yet?
And finally, the appetizers were distributed to the guests. Guests really enjoyed the appetizers and praised the skills of the Hawthorne chefs.
Milk, snow, and charred lace. Let's have many
I'm trying to do
more.
a goodbye toast. Can you please just...
But do we have to?
And then, the manager and head chef, Julian Slowick, appeared and introduced himself to the guests. Julian is responsible for introducing each course and telling the story behind each course.
Fat, salt.
Tyler, a big fan of Chef Julian, was delighted and touched on enjoying Chef Julian's dishes. And the first course was served to the guests. The guests were very focused and paid attention to everything Chef Julian said.
Our menu is too precious for that. Room is meaningless compared to what...
While Margot didn't seem to understand Tyler, who was suddenly emotional after hearing Chef Julian's words. That's because Margot is actually just an ordinary person who only follows and accompanies Tyler. So Margot's only goal is to eat well and be full. But like a fine dining restaurant, the menu served is usually in small portions, so Margot has no appetite to eat it. While the other guests also felt disappointed because they had set their expectations too high, but in fact, the menu served still has some flaws. This time the chef will serve the next menu, where the menu presents a dish that can be considered strange, where the guests will eat bread without bread. The guests were very surprised by the dish, but not for Tyler, who continued to praise Chef Julian.
You don't get it. It's a concept. The theme of the entire meal is going to be. You won't know till the end.
Even Margot was surprised that Tyler enjoyed the food so much. But Margot didn't eat the food at all, causing Chef Julian to approach Margot and ask if there was a problem with the food. But Margot replied that this was not food, so she decided not to eat it. And for the next menu, Chef Julian presented a chicken thigh dish that was equipped with scissor punctures.
Smoked breast chicken thigh, al pastor.
He called it a memory because it was born from his childhood memories, where Chef Julian stabbed his father in the thigh. Because he always came home drunk and often abused his mother. But the guests saw something strange on the menu, and they were given tortillas with pictures that shocked them.
Tyler, is that you? What?
The tortillas that Dave, Soren, and Bryce received contained captures of Cayman Island tax account transfers. Dave, Soren, and Bryce needed clarification about where Chef Julian had gotten the picture. This means the chefs find out about the guests attending that night before the show starts. An annoyed Margot intends to leave the restaurant, but she is not allowed by Elsa. So she decided to calm down in the toilet while smoking. Long after, she was approached by Chef Julian. Chef Julian asked who the real identity of Margot was, because Margot was not actually on the guest list. But Margot kept saying that she was Margot.
I am Margot.
Chef Julian said that Margot shouldn't be in this place. Long story short, now the guests are finally served the next menu. This time the menu was created by the assistant chef, named Chef Jeremy. He created a menu called The Mess.
It's called The Mess.
Jeremy then shot himself, causing the guests to panic. Chaos ensued among the guests who were surprised to see this. The guests wanted to leave the restaurant immediately, but Chef Julian said that what happened just now was part of the show. Even one of the guests wanted to leave the restaurant, but was stopped by Elsa, who ordered an officer to cut off one guest's fingers. The incident scared the guests, and they did not dare try to escape. The guests panicked after seeing the incident, but Tyler looked very calm and was enjoying his food. After that, Margot was called by Chef Julian. Chef Julian said that Margot's presence had ruined the entire menu that had been prepared, because Margot shouldn't be in this restaurant. Chef Julian then told Margot that tonight's fine dining event would end with death. Then Chef Julian gives her 15 minutes for Margot to choose whether she will die with the chefs or the guests.
Our side or theirs.
Margot returns to her table and immediately slaps Tyler, who has set her up. Before going to the next menu, Chef Julian put on a show. He shows the island's biggest investor, who will be drowned in the sea. This was done because the investor intended to fire Julian and the staff. Because of this, the staff and Chef Julian worked together to kill him in front of the guests. And the 15 minutes given by Chef Julian to Margot is up. Margot finally confessed that she was actually a hooker and was also hired to accompany Tyler to this event.
That feeling.
Chef Julian told the guests to leave the room. Chef Julian gathered the guests in the front hall and said that the assistant chef, Catherine, would present the next dish. Catherine explained that this menu was inspired by her experience of almost being raped by Chef Julian. And based on her experience, she finally created the following menu called Human Stupidity.
Because he's the star.
Chef Catherine also took revenge on Chef Julian by stabbing him with scissors.
I'm sorry.
Chef Julian then gave the male guests 45 seconds to escape while the female guests enjoyed the meal with him. And within 45 seconds, the other chefs would chase and catch them all.
Go.
Long story short, the male guests didn't escape and had to be caught by the chefs.
A special bite for the last guest.
The male guests returned to the room to enjoy the next course. But before the next course was served, Chef Julian approached Tyler and asked why Tyler was able to attend this fine dining event. But it turns out that Tyler already knows that this event will end with the death of the guests, but instead, he invites Margot, who doesn't know anything, to the event.
Yes.
For his actions, Chef Julian purposely humiliates Tyler by forcing him to cook in the kitchen and insulting his cooking.
You are why the mystery has been.
This made Tyler feel bad, so he decided to commit suicide. After that, Chef Julian asked Margot to take a big pot outside the restaurant. Margot used this opportunity to sneak into Chef Julian's house. Once there, Margot was caught by Elsa, and there was a fight between them. And finally, Margot managed to kill Elsa using a knife. Margot then entered Chef Julian's room and saw a news article about Chef Julian's past life working at a fast food restaurant. In addition, Margot also found a radio and used it to call for help. Long story short, Margot returned to the restaurant with the large pot that Chef Julian wanted. It was only a short time before a Coast Guard came to the restaurant after Margot called for help using the radio. Panicked, Chef Julian told the staff and chefs to tidy the place.
Good evening, officer. How can we help you?
The guests thought they would be rescued by the officer, but it turned out that the Coast Guard was a chef in disguise.
No.
The guests were shocked by the tricks of the chef. Because there was no way out, Margot was desperate to say that she didn't like Chef Julian's cooking and wanted to return it. Margot said that the food made by Chef Julian did not have restaurant standards and the taste was ordinary. Margot said she was still hungry and wanted a real cheeseburger with fries. Hearing this, Chef Julian then prepared the food ordered by Margot. Margot then ate the cheeseburger and praised Chef Julian.
That is a cheeseburger.
Then Margot asked if she could take home the rest of the burger she hadn't eaten. Chef Julian happily obliged, wrapped the cheeseburger, and gave a gift package to Margot.
Thank you for dining at Hawthorne.
Margot immediately left the restaurant. Margot also found a boat docked on the beach and used it to escape the island. While inside the restaurant, the guests are served dessert. The chefs put biscuit crumbs on the floor and dressed the guests in little robes made of marshmallows and hats made of chocolate. Chef Julian set the restaurant on fire and killed all the guests, staff, and chefs, including himself. Meanwhile, Margot was on the boat and enjoying her cheeseburger. And the movie was over. Don't forget to click subscribe, like, and comment.